Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to a brand new episode with a side of chaos. This is Patricio, aka Rocky, and as always, I am joined by
PG rated salty. How are you guys today?
I love the fact that you actually did that.
Yeah, PG.
Yeah,
There is parental guidance, but there might be a few,
little slips here and there that I can do in post, but
in post. You mean I'm not allowed to say "Deed" right off the bat?
But
Because
no,
I hate them.
I know you do. Like telling you to like keep it PG is like telling insect not to dance.
Yeah, specifically, I'm talking about Cambodian people, though.
Okay.
I don't know why. I really like their food this week. It's my favorite.
But once again, welcome to a brand new episode of Side of Chaos, the podcast that puts a magnifying glass on Orlando and Central Florida to show the world that we're more than just theme parks. We talk to the creativity, the diversity, and the talent that gets overlooked because of a mouse. Nothing against the mouse, but there's a lot more here than just a mouse. And
that's the only scripted part of our show.
Yeah, pretty much.
Thank Christ, we're through that.
Right now, we're just freeballing it right now.
Yeah.
But
balls are free.
If you're watching the live stream right now, you can see that we're not in our normal studio. We're not in the office.
No, we're definitely not.
Yeah, we haven't done an on-site show in a few months.
The last time we did a live show, you almost peed your pants.
Which one was that?
That was when we were at the Scary Manor place.
Oh, that's right.
We did on location of your house, our Kitchen Killer show, but I don't count that.
Oh no, you're talking about Mortem Matter in Old Town.
That was the last one we did.
Yeah, for like the first time in years, I've actually been like terrified and scared by a performer.
Yeah, because it was like your ex-girlfriend or something.
No, it was not an ex-girlfriend. How dare you?
I'm sorry.
Dare you? No.
Okay,
no.
Just some angry ex.
I don't date performers or scare actors. It's against the code.
You break a lot of codes.
I do, but we'll get off that subject for a bit. But yeah, like I said, we're not recording in our normal studio today. We're actually out on location, and we're at Maker FX Studio. Is that would that be the proper term?
Makerspace.
And we're sitting here in Makerspace, and right before I bring in our guest, Aaron, how has is this like our first episode of the year? Because we've been.
It is 2022.
We've
and I know that from the fireworks that we had on New Year's Eve. And there's been a fortnight since then. So
it's been a wild few weeks for us in the podcast community, and
sure has.
Not going to talk too much about this part.
I would like you not to. Yeah, let's just move on.
We're just going to move on.
We'll move on.
Okay, just respect right there and all that. Yeah. But how about you, man? Like, what you been up to since New Year been?
New Year. Like I said, it's been a fortnight since New Year, so I've sat on my couch trying to make 100 movies before the end of February. And I'm doing it nightly. So if you guys ever want to see a bizarre old movie, you just let me know.
You have actually, not gonna lie, you have recommended me some good films over the past few weeks that okay, cool, I'm totally down.
And those were all 2021's choices. I'm only on like film 8 of this year, and trust me, it's already fantastic. You should follow the non-commissioned 100 movies. You don't have to follow Crespo for that. You can just watch 100 movies.
The one film you threw at me, was it you recommended me Old Boy.
Yeah, but you watched the bad one.
I watched the American version of it.
It was bad. Like I watched it yesterday just to see what you saw. Did you watch the Korean version?
Everyone keeps telling me to watch the Korean version of that film, and I'm afraid to because I was still shocked and mortified by the American version.
Okay, what that actor did. Who was the actor in that? I watched it.
Josh Brolin.
Yeah. Okay. Of all Josh Brolin roles, he should not have chose that one to start his action career. But that specifically, that remake, is what we would call petty horseshit. Sorry, I was like the person who made that movie. Even if it's the regular director who flew from Korea over here to make that movie, should be ashamed of what he made. It was trash. Trash. Do you hear me?
I hear you. But here's the thing:
I don't like making fun of stuff. I really like.
When my fiance and I watched it, like she was thrown off by the cursing. She's not big into like. Bad words or profanity.
Oh, really? And we have this show?
And then
how are you commissioned?
Yeah, she unsubscribed like 3 episodes into our relationship. But when we watched it, I kind of like, I don't want to say like I forced her to like, no, sit down and watch this film.
Yeah, like, that was not one you should.
There were things that like triggered her, and she's like, okay, now I kind of want to watch it. I want to know what's going on. Yeah. And then the reveal at the end, we were just like, nah. She said a funny thing. She was like, oh, I see why people want to cancel their subscription to Netflix. I'm like,
For Old Boy?
for Old Boy.
Oh, wow. You need to cancel South Korea, because they're the ones who keep generating this wonderful content that we keep stealing and making it Americanized. Have you ever seen the American version of The Grudge?
No,
It is terrible.
really.
It is so fucking bad that I don't even look at Sarah Michelle Gellar anymore with respect because that's how much it was fucking trash. Sorry, God, PG Aaron is not here. Apparently, I'm trying.
But I mean, they gave us Squid Game.
Yeah, obviously, that was amazing. Old Boy was amazing, and then America remade it. Now, if we remake Squid Games, it's probably going to be Octopus Games, and it's probably going to be a game show.
It'll be
a real one.
It'll be starring Ryan Seacrest.
Of course.
But
Why not Casey Kasem, too? Throw an old fuck in there. Why not?
But no,
He's still alive, right?
No, right?
We lost Casey Kasem.
We've lost Casey Kasem a long time
Did
ago.
we? I'm sorry. R.I.P., brother.
R.I.P., brother. Yeah, no. But no, going back to the subject at hand, we are here at Makerspace here in Orlando. And the reason why we're here is a few months ago, I got to do cosplay handling for a good friend of mine, Allison Chase. And she was, for that one, she was Cat Bus. And when she built this thing was insane. And we've talked about Cat Bus a couple of times on the show.
Yeah, we've shown it to the world, and they haven't reciprocated.
Yeah, and like when she was telling me about this cosplay that she's gonna be doing, I'm like, okay, you're a walking cat bus. All right, when I saw it on her Instagram and her Snapchat and her TikTok and everything, I was like blown away. And the day that we were there, like she had to have a freaking truck to bring this contraption to MegaCon, and they are part of this thing called Makers Fair or Maker FX. And you're good, yeah. I was blown away because she started telling me like, oh yeah, no, I went to this place, they helped me build it, and I'm like, wait, they helped you build it? She's like, no, they gave me the tools to build this thing. And then I met the gentleman that we're about to bring in on the show. And when I met him, he told me about his facility, his company, and I was just blown away. I'm like, I want to talk to you more and more about it because I won't be able to do it justice. And bringing him in right now on the show, we have Ian Cole. How you doing, Ian?
I'm well. Thanks for having me,
dude. Thank you for having us and letting us be here in at your location, because right now I feel like a kid in a candy store because there's so much cool shit all around me. Like I'm looking across from you right now, and the power loader, the arms are right there. The back of the power loader is behind you. Aaron, what do you see around you right now?
Oh man, there's just like tons of cool stuff. I can see the swans above me, and I'm in Lake Eola. I know where my place is right now, beneath the swans, beneath them.
But no, Ian, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do here at this facility.
Sure. So I've always liked to make things. I've always had to know how things are made. I'm that type of person that if you hand me something, I want to flip it around and look at it and see what it is. I took my toys apart when I was a kid and got in trouble for it. And it was a big problem until that one day I fixed the TV, and then suddenly it wasn't an issue anymore. I spent a lot of time going to school. I have a computer science degree and worked locally. But then when I had kids, I kind of wanted to share that love of making things. I have two boys. They're 19 and 21 now. And when they were, like 9 and 11, we spent a lot of time just, whether it was Lego or Minecraft or any of those things. And I heard about these places that were popping up around the country called either hacker spaces or maker spaces.
Okay.
And that's, before people are like, what do you mean hacker space? It's, the original term hacker came out of MIT, and it was people who took something and used it for an alternate purpose.
Okay.
Right?
Unconventional means.
Unconventional means, right?
I feel you.
Or think about a hacksaw. It's not good for any one specific thing, but it's, if you need it, you get the job done.
Exactly.
And so these places were popping up, and they're community organizations. So we are a local nonprofit. Along the way, we actually formed a nonprofit called the Maker Effect Foundation. And the foundation does a few things. We operate this space. So this is a member-funded space. So people pay $50 for an individual membership or $75 for a family membership, and they get a key. and that key gets them 24/7 access. So you mentioned Allison, she's a member, so she can come in at 10 a.m. or 5 p.m. or 3 a.m.
Oh,
you know?
wow.
And we definitely have some people who, they work late and they're in here at 2, 3 a.m. and they have the place themselves and they jam out and
Nice.
use the tools. And we have a variety of tools, whether it's 3D printers or, other, sort of technical things like the laser cutter.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was epic right there. The mount just went.
It just gave up.
We probably have the tools to fix that.
I'm going to just jump off the table with the mount. See what happens.
I mean, you got to save something for later. in the
Oh,
day,
yeah,
right?
definitely.
Gotta have an interlude, and then you mentioned swans. You could do the swan dive.
Yeah.
So, but we not only have the technical tools, and people tend to think of the 3D printers, the laser cutters, maybe the woodworking tools, but what they don't think about is the sewing machines, the sergers, the vinyl cutters. So we have an industrial embroidery machine. So it's kind of whatever you're into, whatever you want to make, we've got the tools to do that. And a lot of times what happens is people come in for the tools, but then they meet the people.
Yeah.
And once you meet somebody like an Allison or any number of the members here that are super talented in their domains, you realize that you can learn so much from them, right?
Yeah.
Really?
I
I
remember
remember
collaborations, right?
collaboration and just expertise. It's really common. We communicate using Slack online when we're not here. And it's super common that somebody's like, hey, how do I do this? And somebody chimes in and is like, oh, I know how to do that. You want to meet up on Tuesday night? I'll show you. and that's the really kind of cool part of it. Because I remember before spaces like this, right? You struggle with a problem and you're searching the internet, you're reading forums, you're going to a store and you're trying to figure out, and you could get stuck on something for a while.
Oh yeah, no.
Oh yeah.
I remember when I was building my my Groot a few years ago. I was like, you know what? That looks simple enough to build. Let me figure out how to do it. And then I get all the EVA foam and I get all my tools. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to figure this out. I didn't know jack shit on what to do.
Yeah.
Picked up a couple of videos on YouTube on how to give detail to the EVA foam, little tricks of the trade. And by the end, like it was great. And I'd spent probably around maybe $60, $70 on material and tools itself. And that little cosplay won me a little bit of money at certain contests. And I've always loved like building my costumes, even since I was a kid. I refused to like my mom wanting to buy the costume. I'm like, no, I want to build it. I want to make it. We'll grab this, we'll get that. And the only time like we ever bought a costume was when I was Darth Vader. I think I was like 8 or 9 years old. And we went out to either Party City or some sort of costume store. And because I was a tall kid, they didn't make Vader in a small size. So like you have to get the adult version. And it was literally, I was a wrinkly Darth Vader for that Halloween. And I started when like I said, going back to Allison, and she's showing me all these cool contraptions that she's made, whether it's the power loader or the Rick and Morty dog, I can't remember the name, to Cat Bus. Now she starts telling me like, no, I went to this place, yeah, I'm a member, and I was literally able to create my vision into a reality. So
And she has big vision.
oh yeah.
Like when she explained what she wants to do next, I just went, wow. And I have no doubt that she'll do it. She just needs a bigger and bigger storage.
Yes.
Because she keeps going bigger.
She
and
keeps
bigger
running out of
costumes.
space.
But that is, and that is definitely, and you can tell from looking around, that is one of the fun challenges that we have is we like building cool stuff and we like spectacle and we like large.
Yeah.
But then it takes up space.
Oh no,
So-
definitely. Now we're in like how many rooms do tell us about the size of this place.
Sure. We've got a little over 6,000 square feet.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I
We're
didn't-
in roughly half of it right now. So we
Okay.
started in this unit, which is I think like 3,500 square feet. So there's the classroom that we're in now.
Mhm.
There's a lobby area that also has the laser and the embroidery machine. There's a full wood shop behind us on that side. Upstairs there's a mezzanine, and that's where the 3D printers, the vinyl cutters, sort of like the desktop tools that don't create dust,
Yeah.
are all upstairs. Well, you got to keep the dust like segregated out
Right.
there or it gets out of control.
Yeah.
Then after we were here for I think close to 2 years, we were feeling it, and we were successful, and people were joining, and our neighbors next door got evicted,
Oh shit.
and
Uh-oh.
which was perfect. Um, we saw the eviction, like we knew something was up, and we knew they'd moved their stuff out,
Hmm.
and we saw the eviction notice, and so we literally started calling the leasing agent every day,
Oh snap.
and she was like, I will let you know when it's available. You don't have to call me every day. And literally we'd come by every day. And one day the sheet was off the door next door, and they
Mhm.
called us and they said, okay, are you ready for the space? And it was a big financial stretch for us. Like we really weren't ready from a cash perspective to take it on.
Mhm.
But how many times do you get the opportunity to expand by just putting a door in?
Yeah.
So we literally, cut a hole in the drywall, put another door in, and picked up the 3,000 next door.
Oh, that's insane. Now
Yeah.
here's the thing. Like, I was here a few weeks ago because I was doing handling for her at oh my god, I can't remember the name of the thing. It was an anime
Holiday Matsuri.
Holiday Matsuri, and I was also with one of your students as well, Corbin,
Corbin. Yeah.
and
Corbin's awesome.
Corbin gave me a tour of this place, and he was just excited. I think he's like what 22, 21.
Yep. And we've known him since he was, young teens. So
Really?
that one, with Corbin, what's great is to see him start out, around people like this
Mhm.
and then mature into it. And so he started out as that teenager that was kind of underfoot, and now is just this amazing resource that you can call when you need something like that done. And when we did the fair in November, we have a very large combat robot competition there, and
Mhm.
he literally took a week off of work and crewed the arena to basically build this large arena for fighting robots. And so
Holy
it's just
crap.
amazing to see people like that grow in the community.
So you're telling me that in this facility right now, there's a fighting robot?
Normally there would be,
Uh-huh.
but right now we have a big event that we're doing at the South Florida Fair.
Okay.
So the combat robot event that we host is called Robot Ruckus,
Mhm.
and
I love the name.
Isn't that great? One of our local robot organizers, Lily, she came up with that name, and she's organized the competition at Maker Faire for a number of years, and she's an awesome bot builder. She's been on BattleBots.
Oh, nice.
We actually have a
wow.
bunch of friends who are on BattleBots. It's getting hard to watch the show because it used to be like, oh, I'd root for my friend, but now it's like I know both of them. Who do I root for? So, and the season just
Yikes.
started.
Hey, see,
yes,
I really got to get back into that because I remember watching it when it was on Comedy Central years ago.
way back.
And I'm a cord cutter at this point now. Everything that I have is all streaming. I don't have cable no more. And I'll stumble across like one of those through social media. Like, someone will put up a link, or someone will put up a live feed or a clip from what
Right.
had happened over the weekend. And it's insane.
The power that those things have, they're 250 pounds, and they run, you think about how much power we get out of lithium batteries versus what we used to get, and you think about that's where all that power comes from. So the brushless motors and the big lithium batteries,
Oh, wow.
they are super destructive. Even when we run them here in Orlando, we can't run them at full speed because our arena, the Lexan, we run, I think it's 2 3/8-inch sheets, and we would need like 2 1/2-inch sheets for them or more to run at full power,
Holy
because they're just
Christ.
so they throw
That's
each other.
insane.
Like we've had ones that have hit the roof of the arena. So, it's taking a 250-pound object and throwing it and hitting the top of the arena, which the crowd loves, by the way, because you destroy a light or two and everything falls. And
Oh yeah, no.
hangs. So,
Those competitions, and if you haven't seen one of those, just pull one up on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like, they get brutal.
Yep.
It's how would I say it? It's like my childhood dreams of just like watching robots go at it become flourish it into a reality. And like I said, they get intense, and the crowds love it. Like you guys bring in huge crowds when there's a robot battle.
Yep.
And so let me ask you this: when you had the idea of opening up this facility, like, did you want to focus on a certain genre or a certain area of fabrication, or like what was your main goal?
So we had been, my family and a bunch of our friends had been part of a space that still exists in Longwood called Familab.
Okay.
But I live in the Dr. Phillips area, and it was getting to be, and I worked very close to here at the time, and we would meet on Tuesday nights. Like that was our regular social hangout night, and it got to be an hour and a half to get from here to Longwood.
That's too long.
Yeah. So by the time you get to Longwood and you hang out for a while and then you drive 45, so it just got to be too much. So what we really wanted to do was, sort of give the maker culture in South Orlando a home.
Hmm.
And I had a theory that a lot of people in this part of town live here because they work or they appreciate the theme parks.
Yeah.
And so I expected that a lot more costuming, stagecraft, theme park design. I sort of expected that there would be a little bit different nucleus of people
Hmm.
down here, and that really did play out.
Now, I've been going to MegaCon for for like probably like a good 10, 12 years now. And it's always fun to see the like people's costumes, whether it's just something made out of fabric, and then you got the guys who utilize EVA foam or make their armor out of whatever plastic. I don't know the full terms. And then you start seeing like the dudes who are on stilts, who like they take over the entire lobby of the
Yep.
convention center because they're just showing off their creation, and it's mind blowing. And I loved it because, like I just said, you see so much creativity, so much diversity in one little hub right there. But at the same time, you get to meet so many cool, interesting people because, mind you, I don't want to think or say like the term nerd or geek gets a bad rap, because honestly, like they run the world at this point now.
And the geeks shall inherit the earth.
I think the geeks have inherited the earth at
Yeah.
this point, because a system, your computer crashes, and we rely on our devices, whether it's our computers, our tablets, our mobile devices. Oh no, it's doing this. Where do you go? I can't figure this out. Where do you go? And it's like I feel like they have much more power at this point. And when like I said, going out to these conventions, meeting all the cool people, the networking that came from there, now is literally here 24/7. Because like you said, you have so many talented people come in here with an idea that sometimes may not know how to get to this step, but no, so and so might be able to help you out. What does that mean to you right there?
I mean, for me, it's extremely rewarding, right, to see those connections. And our mission for the foundation, we talk about activate and amplify. And so activate to us means take those people who they sort of have the creativity, but it
Mhm.
hasn't been unlocked yet, and they haven't really figured out how to get started. And then amplify is take those people who are already doing it, but they're resource constrained in some way. They either need more space
Mhm.
or they need access to other things. Sometimes they need funding,
Yeah.
right? So we do sponsored projects from time to time for
Oh.
the fair and other things.
Okay.
And group projects, we've found they can be wildly irrational builds, right? You've seen the giant boombox bicycle that we built.
And I do want to touch light on that one, because that thing's insane. That thing's beautiful.
It was a crazy idea, and sometimes those crazy ideas are very motivating.
Mhm.
And what we do with those around here is we'll say we're doing it, and you get a little bit of interest, and then we took over the classroom here. We just took it over, and when people knew that we could, that they could just show up, we would just post like, "Hey, we're going to be working on it Tuesday night." And I think a lot of people want to be useful. They want a way to participate. They want a way to get involved, but
Yeah.
sometimes they don't feel like they're good enough or that they can be of use.
Mhm.
And I like it because when you get in those big multidiscipline projects, and some of those cosplay are big multidiscipline, right?
Oh,
They
definitely.
they may have everything from fabrics to motors to LEDs. I think it's great that people get to work together and find that sense of community. And I really appreciate what you said at the beginning in your intro, because we've felt that way for a long time, that there's so much here in Orlando that people just don't know about.
Oh yeah. No, it's wild because over the years I've been privileged enough to meet people like yourself, people who give back to the community, people who give the opportunity to ones that have an idea and don't know how to make it a reality. And when I was here a few weeks ago, getting ready for Matsuri, holiday Matsuri, we were in the back, and I noticed these little cars. I noticed these little cars, and I'm like, I look to Corbin, I'm like, is that a Mario Kart? Is that like what is that? And then we started looking around them, and I think there were like 2 or 3 back
Yep.
there. Like, tell me about that, because like not only like do you guys help fabricate costumes, but like
Yep.
you go and robots, but like what other areas do you guys like build?
Sure. So those cars, it's a actual racing league that happens around the U.S. It's called the Power Racing Series, and it started out with modifying kids' Power Wheels vehicles. So you would buy it and you'd put like a bigger battery in it, and over time it evolved to an actual racing series. So it's a $500 limit on the track at any time. Now you spend more money in batteries and spare tires and
course.
chargers and all that, but and so now what you do is generally people build their own custom chassis. So you weld up a custom chassis and you get a cheap e-bike motor and
Mhm.
controller and you get a power source, which now very commonly, most of us run batteries from a Chevy Volt. So when I still had a truck, I took my truck and my kid and we went to an auto recycler and I bought an entire Chevy Volt battery and they loaded it in the back of my truck. We took it apart and that made 9 cells. So that powers 9 different cars
Holy
individually.
crap.
Yeah, we can run that that small car for like 90 minutes.
Yeah, I was gonna
on
say
one
like
of those.
what's the shelf life on a battery like that?
Yeah, it just goes and goes and
It
goes.
just
So
goes and goes and
we get
goes.
about 90 minutes. So our longest race is an endurance race. So typically there's a 15-minute sprint race, but
Mhm.
then so we race that at Maker Faire each year here in Orlando, and then there's races in other parts of the country. And I built one with my son. It looks like a little boat. It was going to be an airboat, but we never built it back. And so he's Florida man. So he puts on a pair of overalls and he's got alligators and all that. And it's a blast. But and that's a great project for people that just want to, build something cool and have fun. And the fact that there's like a little racing or competition
Mhm.
just adds to the fun.
So let me ask you this: like, with your idea in building this facility, going back, like, what was like one of the first few things, like one of the first projects that you ever worked on, like that you fabricated from an idea you had?
Um, I started out working on a physical project with my son. He had, it was actually kind of silly. He has a window in his room, and underneath his window, he had some water damage. And so I pulled all the drywall out to replace it. And we were sitting there, and I was like, it'd be kind of cool if we made that look like the control panel of a spaceship, because I hate doing drywall work, right? So I turned it into like some crazy other project. So we went to Skycraft and we bought like $300 worth of gauges.
Oh, shout out to
buttons,
Skycraft.
and love Skycraft. Love Skycraft. They just moved.
Yes.
They are still here. So a lot of people think they closed. They are still here. So we bought all this stuff, and I kind of made it. I mounted it all, but I didn't have a way to make it controllable.
Mhm.
And then I saw an article about this new board called an Arduino. It's Italian, and you could write code for it. Now, writing code was my thing, right? I have a computer science degree. I can do
Yeah.
that. And so once I got that, and I could control the first gauge, and then a light, and then all this other stuff. So we made this whole control panel interactive. We ripped sounds off of Clone Wars, and so he had this Skycraft. I had found this giant joystick. No idea why I was buying this joystick at the time. It was like $50, and it was this awesome metal joystick. It turns out it was the turreting controller for an M1 Abrams tank. Took me a
Holy
while to find
crap.
out, but like it didn't just pivot like this, like the whole thing went side. Anyway, so that ended up controlling this, and we did that, and got featured on Hackaday for it, and that was a lot of fun, and we did that together. And that's been kind of a common theme. Like I wanted to do things with them. So the
Mhm.
Power Racer that we built, I built with my younger son.
That's awesome.
And now he's a car mechanic.
Now, when I met you guys at Makers Fair, you guys had a huge booth. You guys had the big red robot. I take it that's the logo for.
Yeah, so the Maker Faire mascot, which you can see on the sign up there, and on the art behind you, that he gets called Makey. That's Makey the robot, and he is the mascot for Maker Faire. And so, yeah, we can borrow a 12-foot inflatable version of it from the company that licenses out the Maker Faire name, and so.
And you guys had a huge booth. Like you normally, like you would see the art booths of like maybe a table or two wide. You guys had a huge square.
Yeah, I think it was 50 by 50 by 50.
And you had the big inflatable robot, but you also had a soldering station.
Yep.
You guys had
Learn to solder.
can crushing machine.
That's Harry. Harry makes these like amazing. Harry's like, yeah, I'm going to build a can crusher. And we're like, cool. And then he makes this amazing can crusher with a 64 can magazine, and it's all automated, and it shoots the can out at the end.
Yeah.
No,
and that was cool because like people were coming up, and there you I don't know if it was you or one of your volunteers. You want to crush a can?
Yep.
Like, okay. Here, press this button, and you would see the can roll down into a chute, and then boom, boom, and then
yep.
Like this is a little cube. This used to be a can. I still have mine. That I got from you guys.
I think it's crazy because we would hand them to people, and I'm thinking they must hit the first trash can. And somebody I work with the other day, I'm in his office, and I'm like, "Hey, that's one of our cans." We kept joking we should mount them and make earrings out of them or whatnot. So
I think they'd be too heavy and like they would drag down the ear.
Yeah,
but
probably a little scratchy.
I'll totally be before that. And also, you guys had a 3D printing station, printing out the little Maker robot.
Little robots. Yep.
Now, over the years, I've seen the investments that have come from the 3D printing, and it's phenomenal from what's available now.
Yeah. The patents expired in I want to say it was like 2008, 2009, and that led to this explosion in the open source models and open source software. And so
what do you mean by that the patent expired?
So there were patents on the type of 3D printing that most of us think about when we think about 3D printing is where you take a plastic and you melt that plastic, and then you basically draw with it. There were patents on that. And so basically no one could make or sell 3D printers using that for the entirety of that patent.
Oh, wow.
Once those patents expired, that's when it really showed up on the market. And that's what we all kind of remember from the last 10, 12 years now.
Yeah.
Actually, time is flying.
It is.
And what's fantastic about that is that basically it was really hobbyists that drove the initial surge and all the advancements. It wasn't large companies doing it. There have been plenty of companies that have made investments in it, which is great. But really, it was powered by the maker movement and people getting involved. And for me, it's been fun because I bought a 3D printer kit. It was a total piece of junk. And I basically rage quit that kit. I took it to FamiLab at the time, and I put it on the table, and I put a note on it. And I'm like, anybody that wants to make this work, make it work. Let me know if it needs parts. Like, I'll buy the parts. Just don't trash it. And this guy, Tony, he says, hey, can I take it and learn how it works? I'm just like, dude, you do whatever. And seriously, if it needs, another $100 worth of parts, I want to see it working.
Yeah.
But I'm done.
It's got potential.
I'm moving on. And I knew my limit. And sure enough, he got it to work. And now that's his job. Like, he builds and repairs and has for the last, I don't know, feels like 5-10 years now, basically built and repaired 3D printers and like made a career of it.
I love seeing TikToks that focus just on 3D printing.
Yep.
And there are people who live stream whatever they're printing. I remember going back and forth and watching this dude fabricate a croc shoe, but it wasn't just a croc. It was the outline of the croc, but the top of it was the Rock's head.
Oh my.
So it was a croc slipper. And I'd be going back and forth because like 3D printing doesn't happen like in about 15, 20 minutes. Like, what's the average? Like, let's say I wanted to fabricate something the size of this can.
That's probably a 4-hour print.
A 4-hour
guessing,
print to make something like this.
Depending on the printer and the quality and all that. That's actually pretty straightforward because it's sort of one shape
Mhm.
that is going up vertically.
Yeah.
Right. Where you get more complicated is if you have a shape that has an overhang or other pieces or a lot of dimensionality to it.
Mhm.
But 24-hour prints are not uncommon. And when you get into printing, so one of the other printers that we had at MegaCon was a company named Delta Maker that's local.
Okay.
And their Delta Maker R2 printer literally is sized to be able to print the body of an R2.
Are you? Whoa.
Yeah. So at that event, I think he was printing the dome, but he has printed the entire. He's printed the entire body.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Holy what?
Now, if one of those prints fails, that's an expensive failure. You're going to put a UPS on that printer. You don't want that to. You don't want that to go bad.
So I got a question in regards to 3D printing. Like, let's say, for example, I'm wanting to print out a Spartan 117 Master Chief helmet. Okay, and halfway through, like right there at the visor, like something happens, one little slip up, and it just starts messing up. Are you able to pick up from where it left off, or do you have to start the process all over again?
Yeah, the modern software absolutely can pick up. You can run into some trouble if you don't know exactly what layer it stopped at, but the good people, they will get in there and they'll measure the height and they'll figure out what layer it is and they'll do it. The other thing you can do, depending on the plastic, some plastics can be glued or fused together. So a lot of times what you see, like when you see one of these giant swords at MegaCon, right? They've printed that in pieces, and then they've fused it together, and they've used a smoother or a filler to cover that up and allow it to. So you've got some options.
Because I can imagine, like if you're measuring it to like the smallest decimal. I mean, I'm sure you'd be using like a caliper of some sort to like get to that where it left off.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like anything. The people who really go deep into that stuff, they're spending time with it, and I think that's. Every year I get asked, right before the holiday season, right? Oh, I want to buy my kid a 3D printer. And my advice to people, if they want a 3D printer, is actually to go to their local makerspace, go to their local library, try a few. They're all a little different. They're like cars.
Now, see, I'm going to stop you right there. I have not heard that term, go to your local library, in years. The only time I would hear it was when I would watch an episode of Arthur. At the very end, check out the books or go to your local library.
Right.
You don't hear that term anymore because, of course, everything's digital. You can get it on your Kindle, on your phone, audiobooks, things like that.
Go to a library. You'll be surprised. They've pivoted. They are community resource centers.
I saw, I think it's Winter Park that just opened up their brand new library, and it is massive. And I've been wanting to check it out because, like I said, I haven't been to a library in years. But like, you were saying that like they've pivoted, like in what sense?
You can go to the library downtown and they have recording booths. You can go in and record, playing an instrument. They've basically got full music production capability in the Melrose Center there.
Holy crap.
They do sewing classes. Yes, they still have books, but then they also, back to digital. Yes, they are digital. There's a website called lynda.com. I think it's owned by LinkedIn now, which is then owned by Microsoft. But
Microsoft is buying everything now,
right? This week, like whoa. So, but the thing is, I'll have people. They're like, oh. I really want to learn how to do Photoshop. And I'm like, oh, well, go to lynda.com and you don't have to pay. You can literally go to the Orange County Library, and in the Orange County Library website, if you have put in your library card number, you can access lynda.com and you get all this tech training for free.
Are you serious?
And most people have no idea.
Huh.
That's the face right there.
You just blew me away because here's the thing. I have access to a huge Adobe, Photoshop, Illustrator, all that stuff. I don't know how to use it.
Most people don't.
And I see I tried to get on YouTube to see like, oh, here's a crash course on Photoshop, and exactly that rolling of the eyes got me because I'm like, all right, cool.
Pause, rewind, pause, rewind.
He's like, hey, watch me. This is how we do this, this, and this. I'm like, okay, cool. He's broken it down. Let's start. And then like within 5 seconds, I'm like, hold on, I'm lost. I don't know.
I don't have the same menu you have.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. It's frustrating. And I'm definitely going to check that out in regards to, you said lynda.com.
Yeah, I think it's LYNDA.
LYNDA.
But you can get it. I'm pretty sure Orange County residents. I'm pretty sure Osceola County residents can as well.
I'm gonna have to renew my library card.
It's a good thing. I mean, but I mean that's what many of the people that you find in a makerspace environment are here because they like to learn and they like to share. Sure, some people they just want access to a fancy tool. They come in, they use a fancy tool, and they go away. That's fine. They help us pay the bills, right?
Yeah.
But most of the folks here, they want to learn. They want to share. And that's what I love about the maker community is it is generally this openness of, hey, how did you make that? And that's the thing. If you come to a maker fair, that's the difference between a maker fair and a trade show, right? Trade show, you could view the product and you see it and you're like, oh, that's cool. But you can't say, hey, what steel did you use for that?
Yeah.
Right. How did you weld that? Well, what kind of board did you use for that? And one of the local artists that would exhibit at Maker Fair quite commonly, he said it was the only show he did all year long where people would stop and ask him about his paints and about his brushes. Because it was okay to talk about the technique and the tools and the training. You guys were sharing some cool podcast tricks before we got started, right? And I'm gonna call people I know and be like, hey, did you know Dollar Tree, that little splitter? That's handy, right? So you got to share those things.
No, and the community itself. Ooh, excuse me. Ooh, Red Bull right there, getting back in. The community itself, in regards to cosplayers, people who attend these events, are so friendly when it comes to sharing their secrets.
Yep.
I would hear conversations throughout the event at MegaCon. Hey, I love your armor. How did you do this?
Yep.
They take off their helmet. Well, look, here's what I did. And there were some people like, oh, what's your email? I'll send you the 3D print, this and that for you to do it yourself. And I would say this, outside that community, you'd be like, why are you sharing your secrets? But then within the community, why not? You want this, the love and admiration for this art to grow more and more and more. And I say the people in this community are always willing to help, are always willing to lend a helping hand, or give that lesson or that crash course in, like, whether it's coding, whether it's 3D printing, whether it's fabrication, or even sewing. Over the years, like I said, I've done YouTube like crazy. There are some where I've just, you know what? I'm going to bullshit my way through this one. And it comes out okay. It comes out great. A lot of times, I'm just happy that I'm done with it and I'm able to go out and have fun with it. But this community, from what I've seen, has always been welcoming. And for you to have a facility like this, for it to be a hub for people like that, I mean, that's amazing. That's awesome.
And we work hard to make sure that it stays welcoming, right? I mean, that just like the culture of a company, right? You have to work, and if you see people that have bad behaviors, you have to address those behaviors.
Oh, definitely.
And just like you go to MegaCon and you see lots of signs that explain, like, these are good behaviors and these are not good behaviors. And I go to events and I take pictures of signs. Right. Like that's my thing. It's like, oh, I like how they did that. And, I think we took some of that same verbiage and brought it to Maker Fair.
No. And there's this one sign that stands out to me every year that I go to MegaCon, and it says cosplay is not consent.
Yep.
And it's crazy because we talked about this on a previous episode where the word consent no longer has to do with any like sexual thing. It has to do now with just, how would I say, like, just allowing for a photo or allowing for the interaction with the performer, with the design of what they've created.
Yep.
How does that like leak over into you guys when it comes to, like how you said, controlling the behavior?
We don't have we've not had some of the same challenges that the cosplay community has had at large, right? Some of those conventions, I think, have had some trouble, and
Mhm.
that's where those signs and things like that come from. For us, it ends up being more um, helping people enjoy their creation, right? Um, there's a great comic, XKCD, that talks about. Um, I've seen 3D printing for years. It's not new to me. It's not novel to me, but I still remember the first day I saw it, right? And when someone does something for the first time, let them have that moment. Let them have that joy. Let them have that pride of creation. Don't immediately tell them how they could have done it better,
Mhm.
right? And you know the term mansplaining,
Oh
right?
yeah.
And so we have to watch out for that, because some of us have been around these topics longer, and
Mhm.
we have to leave enough room for somebody to come in and be new at something and not be perfect at it,
Yeah.
and still let them feel good about it. And for me, what I know is that I can dream really big. I don't have the skills to do those things, right? We were sitting around, we kicked around this idea of let's create this giant boombox bicycle. I couldn't build that by myself.
Mhm.
I was completely stumped by how the bicycle portion of that would work. The
Yeah.
car audio piece, I got that, right? You got a battery, you got an amplifier, you got a source. Like, I got that. I can do that wiring. But I knew there were other people around who would take that piece and make it happen.
Mhm.
But if you don't create the right positive environment where people can share their ideas and talk about it and learn and fail, but still feel good about it, then you're going to have trouble.
No, and so with all that being said, like this has been a cool experience, just diving into what you provide the community, what you provide for the ones that have an idea, just don't know how to bring it to reality. I'm looking around right now, and I'm seeing these tables that are wrapped up in that are literally wrapped up. And I remember the day that we came in here to for Matsuri. These tables are have a purpose.
They do. They do. So during the pandemic in 2020, we couldn't have the big maker fair
Mhm. Of
for obvious reasons.
course.
And but we were like, we're so used to making an impact in the community. We're like, what are we going to do? And so we saw a news article, something about how all these kids were stuck at home during the pandemic doing school at home, but they didn't have desks. And you go, wow, I just never even thought of it, right? You've
Yeah.
got like they're using the dining room table, but they've got no privacy. And so we've got the tools, we've got the people. So we did a little fundraiser. We bought a bunch of wood, and we used our CNC router, and we cut out these art desks. We actually worked with a local architecture firm that designed the desk for us, and it's a snap together, no fastener construction.
Really?
Yep. And then we partnered with the Boys and Girls Club of Central Florida. They have a young arts initiative program. And so we cut the desks and make the desks here. We did a call out to local artists to basically paint, do whatever they wanted on the top of the desks.
Wow.
No rules. We said, just do it. We got some that I wish I'd put some rules on. We got this fantastic one of Lemmy from Motorhead with like a giant Cyclops eye. It's just fantastic. I just like, okay, you got to find the right kid for that desk, right? So it was really just a bunch of people. And what again, we're going to keep going back about the community, but what's awesome is we just posted in our Slack and we're like, hey, we're going to do this. And people were like, sign me up,
Mhm.
right? Because we'd all been trapped at home and we were looking for something to do. And so now we're taking that, we're saying, okay, how do we turn this into an ongoing program? Like, are we going to create them once a quarter or twice a year? Or what are we going to do? And I wanted to touch on something you said, because I'm the guy sitting here on the microphone and the camera. I don't do this, right? It's really easy when one person's sitting here to make it sound like somehow I enable all this. That's not the case, right? I've done this with friends and family that have all gotten together. So there is we've got over 100 members here. And so I posted the other day that we were doing a podcast, and somebody was like, hey, I'll clean up the classroom. Yes, this is actually the cleaned up version. The desks were actually like cleaned off when we got in here. But I want to point out that while I've been sort of a figure and kind of central in it, there's tons of people who make it happen every day. There's people who do tours here every day, because before somebody can join, they have to take a tour. There's people who clean the bathrooms, and nobody's paid, right? And it takes a lot of work to do this. It takes a lot of work to produce the fair. There's a group off doing the robot event right now, and it's just really neat how all those folks work together.
Now, you just mentioned something that, like, people volunteer, and that was what I saw at MegaCon. You guys had an army
We did.
of volunteers,
Yep.
and running the booth, talking to, interacting with the guests. And I remember speaking to this one young girl, Samantha.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yes, Samantha, and it caught me by surprise that there was a teenage volunteer with you guys.
And that was the first time we met her.
Really?
We did not know her before that. So what was funny is, after she volunteered that first day, I went to Harry, who built the Can Crusher, and I'm like, do you know who that is? Like, I'm so confused. And turns out I had worked with her father, and I had posted on Facebook that we were doing the event, and I had posted that we were looking for volunteers.
Yeah.
And high school students need community service hours for scholarships. And so she had signed up, and she showed up. Amazing volunteer.
Oh yeah, no,
Amazing
she was
volunteer.
there all 3 days.
Mhm.
Lovely person. And I remember the last day, because you guys allowed me to leave some stuff there overnight, and I came back the next. I think it was that Sunday morning. I'm like, where's my bag? Oh my God, where's my bag? I'm freaking out. And she's like, oh, I moved it. She as we were walking, she asked me what I did. And I'm like, oh, and I'm a paralegal, I'm a podcaster, this and that. And of course, keeping up with the conversation, I'm like, what do you do? She's like, well, when I graduated high school, I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
It caught me
Yeah.
completely off guard. And it was like, wow, you guys welcome everybody.
Absolutely.
And everyone played a pivotal role in the success that your booth and your foundation had that day. And then I remember when, oh my goodness, Skycraft, that's the name of the place, right?
Yeah.
Skycraft
Yep.
had their grand opening of their new facility.
Yep.
And I saw it on your guys' webpage. I'm like, you know what? I definitely have to go, because Skycraft is a place where, how would you describe what they have available?
If you think, like, if you took a mad scientist tinkerer's storeroom and you could go into it and buy stuff, I think that's what Skycraft is. It's surplus. It's a lot of old electronics and
Mhm.
wire, and you just never know what you're going to find in there.
For people like yourself, partially myself, like, I felt like a kid in a candy store.
Yep.
And that day, I remember I'm like, I saw something on Skycraft Facebook that, you know what, I need. So let me see if it's still available. And it was a case for our equipment. And I'd gone with my fiance and her daughter. Now, mind you, my fiance couldn't tell you the difference between a Sith and a Jedi. And we go in there, and she's like, what is this place? I'm like, are you serious? This is like anything that you need or want to fabricate, or like any excess parts. Here's where
Toys
toys.
everywhere.
Exactly. And she's like, okay. And then we were walking down the aisle where you see all these all the circuit boards, all these wires, all these capacitors. And she's like, are these broken computers? What is this? I'm like,
Okay.
how about you guys just go outside? I walked that place probably like a good 20, 30 minutes, and I saw things. I'm like, you know what? I don't need it right now, but I know that that's going to come in handy in the future. And I walked out of there with like 2 or 3 bags of just
Project inspiration.
Exactly.
That's like that joystick I mentioned. I bought it without knowing what I was going to use it for.
And I remember going to Skycraft one day, and I remember, yes, Samantha was there, and you guys were, setting up, you guys were promoting Maker Faire that was coming up just a few weeks before that. I mean, yeah, just a few weeks before that. And I'd gone to Skycraft right before, actually, this is embarrassing, the day of Halloween, because I had been wanting to build a Dr. Octopus costume forever. But because of my projects, because of my work, because of my social life, because of my personal life, I couldn't get 5 minutes to sit down and start cutting. I had the design, I had everything drawn out. Now I need to build it. And I'm like, all right, I'll do it on Monday. No, I'll do it on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Then Saturday, being freaking Halloween, I stopped off there, got some wiring, got some cables, got this and that. And I locked myself in my room for 6 hours.
Wow.
And within 6 hours, I brought out something that I was shocked at because I'd used pool noodles. I used an old jacket. I used the wiring, the tape,
Nice.
some EVA foam. And that little costume that cost me probably around, I try to always stay under $100, which is the goal every year. And I was around possibly $80, $90. But that little costume, and from what I got from Skycraft, I was able to win over $700 in cash and prizes just because of those little parts.
Wow.
And now, mind you, to the untrained eye, like the common folk, they're like, dude, that is so cool. How long did that take you? Like 6 hours. But then to like the real cosplayers, they're like,
But you'd been thinking about it for a year.
and it's always the pressure of a cosplayer that
Oh, yeah.
literally leaves it to the last second.
Yeah.
And I've been telling Allison and Corbin, like, I need to join you guys because this is literally everything that I would desire and hope for to be able to create like the big cosplays. Because I have the ideas. One, I just don't have the space. And two, I don't have all the tools and the proper know-how. And I look forward to, joining you guys, working with you guys down the road, because from what I've seen from your Facebook, from you guys' Instagram, beauty comes out from these doors. Honest and inspiring creations roll out from the back, roll out through the front, and make an impact wherever they go. And as we're wrapping up, I just want to say once again, and thank you so much for taking this hour with us to talk about.
Thanks for letting me join you.
Talk about your facility, what you guys do, and let me. I want to end with this: like, what drives you?
What drives me?
Yeah, with pushing forward with this, because this isn't a hobby right here. What we're sitting in, this is a passion.
It's definitely a full-time job on top of a full-time job. So, what drives me? There's a lot of bad stuff in the world.
Oh yeah,
And I think if we all did a little bit to make it better,
mm-hmm.
I think it's so easy for people to point at all the bad stuff and think they have no power, they have no control. And that's just not me. I like to shape my world.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to hang out with super cool people. I like to hang out with people that are smarter than me and inspire me and, more capable. And I've ended up with just the most amazing, friend group out of all this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what keeps me doing it.
That's beautiful. And what's the website for people to look up or join in, or if they have questions?
Yeah. So makerfx.org.
Makerfx.org.
Yep, that's a good one. That is a good jumping off point for the space. And we don't have regular hours. We are all volunteer, so don't just show up here. much as we'd like to have staff. So there is a button on that website where you can sign up for a tour. One of our volunteers will give you a tour, and we also do some classes and workshops and other things. But most of what we do is hang out with each other and just make cool stuff.
And like I said, you guys have a diverse but friendly and welcoming community that I look forward to hopefully one day being part of.
Yeah. And we'll see you for MegaCon again.
Oh, definitely.
I've been chatting with the organizers, and it sounds like they're going to give us that nice big space again.
Nice.
So I think we're going to do something.
Yeah,
more fun.
And I'll be there to help you guys out.
Awesome.
I'm sure Allison will be doing a cosplay that will need a handler
we might
once
need
again.
A bigger space if she's doing that. So
oh my God, sorry.
She has aspirations.
She does. And borderline, I feel like a delusion of grandeur at some point, but she always hits her mark.
I love it.
Other than that, any events that you want to plug or anything coming up?
Yeah, so we for anyone who's in South Florida, we are doing Robot Ruckus at the South Florida Fair right now. And then we will be at MegaCon coming up later this year, and then Maker Faire Orlando is in November each year. So the spring we do a little bit lighter because usually we're all in recovery from Maker Faire and the other pieces, but there's always stuff going on. So you can follow us. We've got Maker FX. You can also follow Maker Faire Orlando or Robot Ruckus. So depending on and if you start watching BattleBots and you're into that, follow Robot Ruckus. We've got a bunch of the folks that do that are actual BattleBots teams.
That's awesome.
So yeah, great people.
But no, once again, Ian, thank you so much for letting us hear. But as always, if you're not laughing, you're not living. Live every day to the fullest, but always do it. Usually, I'd hand over the mic to Aaron to say, but we've had some technical difficulties today. Always do it with a side of chaos, and we'll see you guys next. Oh, wait a second, I do have something to plug. If you are in the Orlando area, February 2nd, 2022, I will be hosting Hamilton Trivia over at the Graffiti Junction in Thornton Park. Over $100 in prizes to give away. Not only that, but there are a couple of drinks that I do give away for pop-up questions, quick little activities. And I may or may not have some Hamilton memorabilia or gifts to give away. So coming out to Graffiti Junction in Thornton Park, Wednesday, February 2nd, we go at 8 a.m. for Hamilton Trivia. But once again, as always, as I did it again, if you're not laughing, you're not living. Live every day to the fullest, but always do it with a side of chaos. Join us next week as we sit down with Nicole Dupre.